Hey guys, it's Avi from JustWriteMusic.com. Today I want to talk about chords. Specifically, I want to give you the tools to start using chords like the pros do, whether they themselves actually know it or not. Now, we've got a lot to cover here, because I want to make this really comprehensive and give you a solid footing for when you're looking for that next chord in your song. If you're new here, please like and subscribe to the channel. It is immensely helpful, and hit the bell to be notified for when new videos are out. Chords are pretty simple when you're writing music, right? You find one that you like the sound of, and then you just kind of find another one that you like that sounds good after that, and you just kind of keep going from there, right? Well, it certainly is one way to do it, but it's not necessarily always that simple, and it's really easy to hit some roadblocks. I want to shed light on something that you already use when you're writing your songs. It's called a chord progression. A chord progression is exactly what it sounds like. It's just the sequence of chords that you hit one after another in a song or a piece of music. Much of the time, this chord progression will repeat, but it will also usually vary as well. So you'll have a lot of repetitions of that chord progression, but then you'll also see some substitutions and other type of things that we will talk about later on in the video. Now, these progressions are universal. You can't like copyright them or anything. That would be insane. These are often the skeletons from which songs are written as well. You can start from one of these chord progressions and create a brand new original song out of one of them. I want to dive deep into how chord progressions work, why we see some of the same ones popping up all the time, and through that we'll learn how these chords function within their chord progressions, the roles that they play. To start off, let's take a look at our C major scale. Now, we've used this scale before when talking about music theory because it's often one of the best starting points to talk about theory from. There's no sharps, there's no flats, it's just super easy. Now take a look at the second scale, the one down at the bottom. See how there's notes kind of stacked on top of one another? This is how you convey chords in music notation and in tablature. When they're stacked on top of each other like that, it means that they're meant to be played simultaneously. Now, you might be saying to yourself, duh, Avi, that's how chords work. And you'd be right, but I want to draw your attention to the bottom of each three-note chord, the bottom note. If you compare it to the C major scale above, you'll notice that they are the same notes. The bottom note on the second scale down there is the exact same note as the C major scale from the first. These chords are called triads because they're made up of three notes. Tri, three, get it? Now, it's not just any three notes. We have to stack thirds on top of each other. Now, if you don't know what a third is, I actually made a video all about intervals, and you should just go check it out because it's gonna be either up there or down there. It's gonna be somewhere. Check it out. It's really useful. Intervals are dope. Now, just like there are 7 notes in a scale, you can see how like that bottom note, it's just like each note of the scale. There are 7 triads, there are 7 chords built into each scale, in this case in our C major scale. Each of these chords is built off of one of the scale degrees. So what about these Roman numerals down below? How are they involved? These Roman numerals represent each of these chords. Notice how there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So these represent the scale degree. They also do more than that. Now, really quick, if a Roman numeral is capitalized, like, you know, with like the capital I's, whoa. That means it's a major chord. If it's minimized with like the lowercase i's, it's, I'm still going from that one, wow. If it's minimized with the lowercase i's, that means it's minor. Now, when you're writing a song in a specific key, you can use any one of these chords. But how do you know which ones to use and when? Well, that's what writing a chord progression is all about. Each of these chords serves a function within the key itself. And in order to start understanding the relationships between these chords, we need to understand the concept of the tonic-dominant relationship. Now, the tonic is the home key in a chord. This is signified by being the first letter, or the first scale degree, using 1. In terms of harmony, the tonic is also the chord built off of the first scale degree. When we play the tonic, it makes us feel like we are home, like we've come to a place of rest. There's not a whole lot of tension. We're restful. Saying really key words that are going to become really important real soon. Now, the dominant is what helps to create tension. In any scale, in any key, no matter what, the dominant is always going to be the chord built off of the 5th scale degree, or 5. Now, the movement from dominant to tonic is called a cadence. My mouth was making weird movements there. I could feel it. It was very strange. Now, there are different kinds of cadences, but each of these different types revolve around the tonic-dominant relationship in some way. Well, almost all of them. We're only going to talk about a couple of these cadences today. The main ones we want to keep in mind, though, are the perfect cadence and the half cadence. A perfect cadence is when we move from 5 to 1, from the dominant to the tonic. Now this type of move is usually saved for a structurally significant part of a song. Are we ending a verse or starting a chorus, or if something's usually happening, we're really like trying to drive a point home. It's an important moment, these cadences. Let me just get my guitar real quick and we'll take a listen to how these cadences sound and how they feel, all right? Cool. All right, so here we are with my guitar, my baby over here, my Linden. So we're only going to talk about a couple of these cadences today. We're only really going to concern ourselves with the perfect cadence and the half cadence. I mean, we might also talk about a few others, but whatever. Now, a perfect cadence is when we move from 5 to 1, like we were talking about, from the dominant to the tonic. Now, this is usually saved for some type of structurally significant part of the song. Maybe it's the end of a chorus or the end of a verse or something like that. Let's give a listen to how it sounds. So I'm going to be playing this in C, like in our C major scale, right? So 5, G, G major, 2, 1, C major. Okay, some stuff going on there. All right, we'll do it again. See what's going on. So here's our 1, it's our tonic. Yeah, right? Definitely feels like we went somewhere and then we came back, or we're now at rest. We created some tension, then we released it. A half cadence is when we are just kind of pausing or ending on 5. It leaves us wanting more, it leaves us wanting resolution. Let's take a listen to how it sounds. Okay. Right? It's like leaving everything hanging. It's all out there. This probably sounds familiar to you. There's some very famous classic rock tunes that are completely just based off of the wrong key. 4, 5. I think like a Yardbirds tune or something. Very, very common. So yeah, that's a half cadence. Just like I was hinting at, a second ago. I'm sneaky, I know. There is another type of dominant that we should concern ourselves with, and that's called the subdominant. Now this is the 4 chord that I was just using, is F major. As you can kind of tell, it sort of helped prepare us for the move to the dominant. It gives us some tension, but not as much tension as the dominant. And it doesn't really make us feel like we really want to or need to move all that much, but there's certainly some stuff there. Absolutely. The subdominant does have a cadence associated with it as well. See, I told you there's some other cadences we're going to talk about. I learned it as the Plagal Cadence. Other people may know it as the Amen Cadence. You hear it in church all the time because it's just, it's what you hear when you say Amen. This is when we move from 4 to 1. Now, just because there's less tension in this cadence doesn't mean it can't be equally useful. And honestly, that's really it. This is all we really need to know in order to start building some solid chord progressions. Now, if we were to write this out in some type of formula, which is disgusting and I hate it, but we're gonna do it because it's super helpful anyway. Work, math. It would look something like this. Tonic, subdominant, dominant, tonic. It's a general formula, very, very basic, very, very common. You see this everywhere, like just everywhere. It's a general scheme, and you can change this a ton to suit your chord progression, to suit what you want to happen in your music. This really just represents how the formulas tend to function, and again, you can start to sort of manipulate this as you want, as to your liking, to like whatever you feel like your song wants to do, or what you want it to do. But I prefer the former. So in our key of C, our tonic, subdominant, dominant would be C, F, and G. Oh, gotta turn the guitar on. And then we go back to our tonic. Oh my gosh, I messed up the high E string. It blocked on my palm and that sucked. I'm a professional, it's fine. Now I bet that looks and sounds super familiar. I bet you've seen these chord combinations everywhere. But what about all the other chords? We've only done 1, 4, and 5 so far. Well, believe it or not, there are plenty of songs that only use 1, 4, and 5. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's not to naysay or, or pass judgment upon those songs. It's all the other things that make those songs unique unto themselves. Just because songs use a simple chord progression or share a chord progression doesn't mean that they're somehow bad or somehow lesser than. It's nonsense. I won't have any of it here. So you really don't need to get too fancy with this stuff in order to write a solid song. But as is my motto, it's always good to have some tools and some options to like really let you express yourself as vividly and as uniquely as you want to. Hello! Welcome to an arbitrary point in the video where I decided that it's now too long and I have to split it up into parts. In fact, this is the second time I'm splitting this video up into parts. Chances are there's going to be 4 parts to this. Initially, there was supposed to be 1 part. Then it became longer. And then there was 2 parts. And then it became longer. And now they think there's going to be like 3 or 4 parts. I hope this is making sense for you guys. I know that sometimes there's a lot of the dry terminology. I really try and bring some type of humor to it when I can, because I like to be silly. It's part of who I am. It's part of my nature as a person. And I also just want to make learning some of this stuff, which is super useful and I 100% believe in, and I only make fun of it because it endears it to me, because ridiculousness is endearing, I think, as a trait. But it's important to know this stuff, and I think teaching it in a way that isn't like me in front of a chalkboard or a whiteboard with a music staff with some jokes in between, I think is maybe just more palatable to most people. Because I ate this stuff up in college, and even when I was in college and I was learning this stuff, I was just like young. And I had a great teacher who like I connected with on a musical level. We were both into Green Day. It was awesome. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope this is making sense. I really hope makes sense. I'm a native English speaker. I really hope this stuff is making sense and that you're learning something and you're learning how to, feeling a little bit more empowered over the chords that you choose and how these chord progressions are constructed. Absolutely hit me up in the comments with any questions you have about this video, anything that we covered in this video, and leave a comment letting me know what your current process is for either writing chord progressions or writing songs or coming up with chords. What's your deal? Tell me. Be sure to like this video and subscribe, and make sure to hit that bell to be notified when the next part of this series about using chords like the pros drops next week. In the videos to come, we're going to be talking about modulating or changing keys, modifying our tonic dominant formula, and we're also talking about prolonging our chord progression so we can just get more out of our material. That's going to be super dope, and that plays such a huge part in the formula, I can't tell you. I mean, I will tell you. Now, if you feel like you're ready to bring some chord progressions to life but are worried about making melodies to match, check out my free guide, 7 ways to write a more effective melody. There I give you 7 easy to implement tools that you can use for any melody in any genre. Head to justwritemusic.com. There is a link in the description. I'm Avi, and I will see you guys next time.